Let's turn now to the big events of the week. The biggest, the return of Julian Assange. Joining me, Zoe McKenzie and Andrew Charlton. Thanks for being here. What have you made of the response, the reaction, the welcome home for Assange? Seen as a villain, as a criminal by some, seen as a hero and a model of free speech by many.
Well, look, he pleaded guilty yesterday to offences under the Espionage Act, and so self-evidently he admits that what he did was wrong, but we all agree across the entire Parliament he has served long enough, deprived from his liberty and deprived from his family. So I think we're all glad to see him home and reunited with his wife and his kids in particular.
It's and I totally, as I put it to Zoe, Andrew, you get both sides of the debate. I'm sure your constituents, you have them on either side of this, those that are worried about the national security implications. As Stephen Smith raised himself in 2010, the former foreign minister, who said that the actions of WikiLeaks were risky and not in Australia's national interest at that time.
Absolutely. But, you know, Kieran, there has been an enormous amount of commentary today. The Liberal Party has been extremely negative on the return of Julian Assange. My view is that really misses the point. Like, whatever you think of Julian Assange, whether he is a hero, whether he is a villain, one fact is true, and that is he is an Australian citizen. And I don't think this is so much about Julian Assange as about the message it sends to all the rest of us. To me, to you, to Zoe, if we were stuck overseas, we were in a difficult situation, even when people hate us, even when we were getting criticised in Australia, we would want to know that the Australian government would stick up for us for the simple reason that we are an Australian citizen. And that's what the return of Julian Assange means to me, and I think should mean to most Australians.
Do you think it was a bit much for Simon Birmingham to criticise the Prime Minister for talking to Assange on the phone?
No, I don't think it was too much. I just think that Simon wanted to make the point. We need to remember that there was endangered lives through the publication of this information. You know, I sit on the Intelligence and National Security Committee with Simon, so I'm not going to sit there and say it's fine to take national security secrets and the identities of particular people working in those intelligence agencies and reveal them. That is really dangerous conduct. Nevertheless, it's been 14 years that he's been managing these legal affairs, and it's just great that it's done and he's home.
Yeah, probably not the end of the story in a way, because you just wait for him to recuperate and get back out there. I guess one of the things to the government they've got to be careful about, I put this to Penny Wong earlier, is you attach yourself too closely to someone who has, WikiLeaks has links to Russia, has publicised and published items they've obtained from Russian hacks and so on. So where does Assange go in terms of his own message into the future? That is also some sort of a risk for a government if it wanted to attach itself too closely to him.
Of course, but you know, we have people all around the world who are incarcerated by different governments for different reasons. Some of them are on drug offences, some of them are on corporate offences, some of them are on this type of offence. And in every single case, the Australian government has a responsibility to them, not to criticise the acts that they've done. They're in front of a foreign court for that purpose, but to support them because they're an Australian citizen.
Sure. And even if you disagree with them.
Yeah. Exactly.
On the CPI, how worried should we be about another rate hike?
Well, we leave commentary about interest rates to the Reserve Bank, but the facts are these, Kieran. Jim Chalmers has done a good job halving the rate of inflation since we came to office. At the same time, he's delivered 2 budget surpluses, and we have the most resilient labour market for any first-term government in Australian history. So putting those facts together and comparing Australia to other countries, you'd be pretty happy with the job that we've done and the situation that we're in. And remember, the Liberals left inflation running at a quarterly rate of 2.1%. We've halved that. And if we had left it at that rate...
Job's not done, though, by the looks of it.
Absolutely. Job is not done, and we have further to go, and the government has been very clear about this. But the counterfactual, the trajectory we were left on by the Liberals would have had prices in Australia 17% higher than they were at the election, and every family paying $200 more. So halving inflation has made a real difference.
Zoe, what's your read on that number this week?
Look, we know that the budget has been inflationary. We know this government has put $315 billion of extra spending into the government. We know core inflation is at 4.4%, which is what the RBA looks at. We know that inflation rate is higher than the US, Canada, France, Sweden, the UK, Norway.
Sounds
How
like-
much more
sounds like rates are
congratulations
going
can they
up.
be asking for on no basis whatsoever?
Sounds like rates are going up.
It sounds like rates are going up. Most people I speak to are surprised they didn't go up last time. So all eyes will be on August in terms of whether they go up again. The average household is already paying $25,000 more in their mortgage, right? Randomly buying themselves another small car each year just in interest, not even touching the principal, and it's likely to go up again. I know in my electorate people can't cope with that. They just can't. Small businesses are closing left, right and centre. More needs to be done. Don't just leave the responsibility on the shoulders of the RBA.
So, I mean, it's a bit hard now, though, isn't it? Budget's been done, so
Sure, but you can look at
states are delivering and shoveling out money too.
and there's probably going to be more between now and the end of the year. So, frankly, the government just needs to tighten the belt and make some changes.
I mean, I'll tell you what won't help if Zoe and her party are very worried about fiscal discipline and spending. What won't help is a $600 billion taxpayer-funded policy to build nuclear reactors. That is the largest Commonwealth expenditure on any project ever.
And we're not planning
That
on
is
doing
like
it in the next 6 months,
10
Andrew, so
times
it's
as
not
large
relevant.
as the NBN. Remember all the hopping up and down that the Liberals made about the NBN being too expensive? This makes the NBN look like a tiny rounding error on the government's balance sheet. $600 billion. And I think, to me, that's the end of any lectures that I'm willing to accept from the Liberals on overspending.
Andrew, the
because
crisis
they've come out with an absolute
now.
corker.
You know the crisis is now, unless you know something about the timing of the election and who's likely to win it. So if we win in a September or December election and then we pursue a nuclear policy, then maybe you've got an argument. But that's not on the table for now. We've committed to 2.5 years of consultation in relation to nuclear. That spend is not imminent. The spend we're dealing with now is the $315 billion extra committed by this government and a failure to curb inflation. It's heading in the wrong direction.
Zoe, I don't think that's right, because a lot of the spending that you're criticising is spending over a very similar time frame. Like, think about the housing expenditure through the HAF. That's very similar expenditure. It's long-term expenditure. It's off balance sheet. These are precisely the types of things that your government, your opposition has been complaining about for the last 2 years.
And it's driving
you
prices
just
up.
trumped it by
It's
dropping a
driving
$600 billion anvil
Energy
on top
bills
of it.
are already up 22%.
And it requires
right?
a bit of a change of tone in
What are
terms of government.
what are the constituents of the Mornington Peninsula say about nuclear energy?
Oh, interestingly, I think I've had one call that said good on you, and that's probably about it. It's just not something that people are particularly
Wait for it,
focused on.
Zoe, wait for it.
They're not particularly
coming.
focused. Now, to be fair, we've had state ALP members running around whooping up frenzy about it, but no, I mean, people want to know they're going to have energy certainty. The fact that we know we're going to have a gas crisis in Victoria this winter, that's what they're worried about.
Zoe McKenzie, Andrew Charlton, great to see you both. Thank you. Appreciate it.